So I was kind of frustrated this week as I read some of the commentaries that I turned to in sermon prep. And it seemed to be a refrain from all these different commentators. They said, well, you need to stay away from referring to Pentecost as the birthday of the church. And I said, no. Well, especially for me this week. What they were going at, the piece I picked up from them was that birthdays tend to make us look backwards. How many years have we, lived? And this is a birthday. Now that's really powerful for me this week. I had a granddaughter born 2 days ago, and that idea of a birth. And I remembered the first birth I remembered was this little granddaughter's father, my son, who was my oldest child. And I remembered from his birth what a difference it made for me as I carried him around outside, and I went, oh, a leaf on the tree. He's never seen a leaf before. And the whole world opens up new. A birth. As something is birthed and something new is possible. So yeah, I'm celebrating the birthday of the church. The day when something new takes place. Moses' wish. I love the story from Numbers where Moses has been complaining to God about having to do too much, and God says, you don't have to do it alone. Take 70 elders, and he enrolled 70 elders, and they went out to the tent of meeting where they met with God, and Eldad and Medad, for some reason, didn't show up to church that day. They're still down in the camp, and these 70 elders, and the Spirit of God comes upon all of them, not just on Moses. And the report comes to Moses, Eldad and Medad are down in the camp prophesying. And Joshua, one of the leaders, says, Moses, make them stop. It's not right. It doesn't quite fit. It's not proper. It's brand new. It's not like you can say we never did it that way before. But it wasn't according to the plan. And Moses said, oh, would that all of God's people had this Spirit. All. They gather there in Jerusalem, these followers of Jesus, after the ascension. And the lesson starts when the day of Pentecost had come. Who is this they? They. Well, you think, okay, so we know, well, not Judas, because he's not with them anymore, but they had 11. So maybe them? Well, if you read in the chapter right before this, they includes Mary, Jesus' mother, and his brothers, and other women that were traveling with him. And in fact, there were so many, there are 120 they're numbered in that first chapter. This isn't just 11 or 12 guys. This is the women that followed the mother of Jesus. They is a big group. And they are all gathered together, waiting. And it says the Spirit came on them, and the room was filled with a sound like a mighty wind. And if you've ever heard a mighty wind, this is not like the murmur of a dove's song. No, this is shaking and scary. I live 5 miles from Mount Washington up in Pinkham Notch. And sometimes when I'm outside and I can hear that wind roaring down the mountain, and I'm going, I'm glad I'm 5 miles away from it. The room was filled in such a way that those outside heard this noise. And the disciples look around, these 120 at each other, and they're all wearing flames. Tongues like flames above their heads. What does this mean? And they find themselves with the ability to communicate with people from places that we have a hard time even wrapping our lips around saying the names of where they're from, much less talking to them. And I don't know what they were thinking, who thought that they were drunk, I mean, I've had some rudimentary Spanish. Believe me, if I was drunk, there'd be nothing of it. Much less these languages from these Galileans. They go, them? Galileans? So like where I lived in Virginia for quite a while, it was the West Virginians. And you didn't expect anything out of the West Virginians. These are the Galileans. And these people in Jerusalem, in the big city, what are these Galileans doing, speaking these languages? And Peter tells us what it's about. We get the first recorded sermon from the book of Acts here. And Peter offers up the prophet Joel. This is what it means. God declares that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh. Thank you, Moses, you get your wish. Would that God's spirit was on everybody, on all. Old, young, male, female, slaves, West Virginians, Galileans, all. And that's the new thing. That is this piece of the new creation that begins as Jesus ascends to heaven and human flesh, created reality is welcomed into the divinity. And God says, yes, and I'm going to become part of all flesh. Open your eyes. See it new. A birthing, a new thing. And all flesh is you. And you. And you. Yeah, you may be visiting today, but it's you too. All flesh. This gift of the Spirit should be blowing into our lives in such a way that holy chaos takes place. But as the story goes on, you hear the Apostle Paul writing to the church at Corinth and trying to contain some of the chaos that's going on. And the Spirit gets institutionalized. And we've gone so far in the other direction that we don't allow the Spirit to shake us up and to make us dream new dreams. To believe new things, to open our eyes to new possibilities, to see that the Spirit in us is pouring out living water for this world that's thirsty. Ruthie, you're not too old to dream new dreams. And our children and our grandchildren are not too young to prophesy. Prophesying is not predicting the future. It is naming God's presence and God's working among us. Are we willing to open up our lives and let that Spirit help us name in this world the presence of God and to name where God's presence is needed? To call to account the powers of this world that work against God's love for everyone. You've got the Spirit to help you do that. Is this parish willing to dream dreams? To listen to the world and say, okay, where is it thirsty? And why are we here? And why is the Spirit with us? And to dream new dreams. To see new possibilities. The vestry is going to be meeting at the end of this month on Sunday, June 29th. We're going to leave after the 10 o'clock service, and we're going to go next door to the old rectory, which we mothballed this year. And we're going to spend all afternoon in that, and I hope we are willing to let the Spirit blow through that building and let us dream dreams and hear what God might have as we look at what we have, what the best use of it is, what God might dream through us. Sitting at this intersection of the world with living water. How might we dream? And you know, you might not be a part of that piece, but I want to have somebody come running to the vestry and say, oh, wait a minute, so-and-so's got this dream. Don't tell them to stop because they're not part of the vestry. I want to have that happen. I want you to dream dreams and let the Spirit loose. Because it is together. Okay, we're not 120 here today, but since when did numbers mean anything to God? Let us let that Spirit loose. Let us allow it to lift our souls. We don't even let it lift our hands. A little holy chaos, Spirit-infused life will do us some good, and through us can bless this world with living water. Oh, would that all the Lord's people were prophets, and the Lord would put His Spirit on them. Oh yes, Moses. Pentecost has come. We are part of the new birth. And God has poured out His Spirit on all. Amen.